We recently interviewed Mr. Shawn Sims regarding his rental experience in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Shawn is definitely a character, to say the least, and if you haven't seen the interview in its entirety, the link is in the show notes below. There were some powerful lessons from Shawn's story for everybody out there struggling with the rental market, especially if your rental and financial history is a bit challenged. While your situation may not be as dire as Shawn's was, learning from his experience will help make your experience the best it can be. That's what's on tap for this episode of Renter Confidential. Shawn had a number of challenges working against him in his search for an apartment. His time in prison, his current status on parole, and his prior lack of financial responsibility all conspired to block his path. But despite those obstacles, he was still able to negotiate with his property manager. He was able to get into a larger 3-bedroom apartment that the property typically reserved for families. In addition, trash, water, and electricity were all included. So never doubt that you have the power to negotiate. Remember, at the end of the day, landlords ultimately want to rent their apartments. Not only did these challenges block his path, but they also provided excuses for landlords to repeatedly turn him down after paying the application fee. In Shawn's experience, these fees ranged from $50 to $80 each. But by being upfront and honest with the property manager, he was able to create a situation where he was truly considered and approved for an apartment. The lesson here is that it's in your best interest to be upfront and honest with the landlord about your situation. It may just save you from wasting hundreds of dollars on application fees and keep your funds for your security deposit intact. Shawn took advantage of splitting his rent with a roommate. Individually, they would never have qualified for the apartment, but together, they were able to make it work. His only option would have been to rent a room in an apartment with the concern of getting a random mystery roommate at any moment. The only reason he was able to rent the apartment he did was because he already had someone he was interested in living with. While there are numerous benefits to having roommates, this financial benefit is one of the major ones. Be sure to check out our upcoming episode covering the other benefits of living with roommates. When it goes live, I'll be sure to add the link to the show notes below. While the apartment Shawn found came with a parking space, he opted not to use it. One key to understanding whether an apartment is worth the money is valuing the amenities and determining what they mean to you. For example, there's no value in paying for access to a swimming pool that you'll never have any time to use. Shawn's apartment had a window facing the street, so that's where he parked his car. So in his case, the fact that his apartment faced the street where he parked his car was the amenity, not the parking space around back of the building. By facing the street, the apartment location gave him greater peace of mind. Another great lesson from Shawn's story involves his neighbors. He wasn't just renting an apartment, but also the environment of the apartment building. Without meeting or even observing his potential neighbors, he set himself up to be surprised. Surprised that most of them were people with mental issues in a government program that had rented those apartments to help them get back on their feet. Surprised his neighbors weren't able to follow through on preparing for the monthly pest control treatments, so he'd have to treat his apartment himself in addition to the pest control service provided by the property manager. Sometimes surprises are nice, but when you're renting an apartment, most people would rather keep them to a minimum. At this point, we're going to take a quick break here for today's sponsor, Apartment Search Secrets. This free book removes stress from your apartment search. The link is in the show notes, and here's the trailer for this amazing book. That new job you've been looking for finally came through, so you're taking on a new adventure in a brand new city, which all means one thing: packing, and the stress it brings. But you can drop all that stress for free with Apartment Search Secrets. With this short ebook at your side, you'll know your value as a renter. You'll know what the internet can't tell you. You'll see landlord problems coming a mile away. And you'll get the best perspective on your rental search. Visit rentalsecrets.net for your free copy today. Not all property management companies are the same. As Shawn explained, the first company he dealt with was competent and professional, but he felt they were ready to move beyond managing the building he lived in. He felt they were, quote, over it. However, the second company had a whole different attitude and didn't really care what properties they got. They were just focused on adding properties to their portfolio to manage. The difference in the perspectives of the two companies showed through in Shawn's experience as a renter. Shawn also hit on another really great tip. Keep all of your receipts and correspondence with your landlord. It keeps down confusion, boosts your confidence, and makes your case much stronger during disputes with your landlord. In Shawn's case, his renewal lease with the second property management company didn't reflect the security deposit he'd left with the previous company when he moved in. Unfortunately, this put him at a disadvantage, resulting in the loss of his security deposit. So it's just a reminder that reading the lease and making sure it's accurate is always in your best interest. As Monty Brewster, played by Richard Pryor, found out in the 80s movie Brewster's Millions, receipts can be worth quite a bit in legal disputes. The lack of one receipt nearly cost Monty $300 million, while another receipt saved the day. Now, your receipts may not be worth quite that much, but your hundreds of dollars in security deposit are worth keeping a few extra pieces of paper around. The last tip from the interview that I'd like to highlight is about guests. Shawn mentioned that he let a friend from his past visit his apartment. Unfortunately, that friend ended up causing some damage. But the key point here is that your guests are your responsibility. If they do any damage, if they cause any disturbances, the landlord will not come looking for your guests. They'll come looking for you. You're the one on the lease. You're the one that they vetted and put through their screening process. So you're the one who is on the hook. So only invite people to your apartment if you know that they play well and get along well with others. Special thanks to Shawn Sims for sharing his rental experience with us. If you'd like to share your rental experience, good, bad, or downright ugly, with the Rental Confidential audience, you can reach me at justin@rentalsecrets.net. I'll forward you a brief questionnaire, and your story could be helping renters across the country just like Shawn's. Thanks for watching Renter Confidential. Happy apartment hunting. When it comes to renting, insider information is the best roommate you could ever have.